Luis, does it help that it's a younger squad when you've got a manager asking you for these sort of things?
Yeah, I think so, Dan. I think in the end, when you got a young team that lack of experience and is eager to win trophies and to learn and to find a way of being successful, of course, they're going to be more able. When you start with the rotation, when you start, let's not forget, Gavi started with Xavi as one of the main players. Casado started as one of the main players. Players who have been involved for quite a long time with this first team. Suddenly, they were relegated to wait for their opportunities. I'm not even calling to Ansu Fati, that arrived once again back to Barcelona with the options to play a lot of minutes, and he has to wait for their options. And all of them, every single time that they've been involved or they've been asked, they gave 120%, knowing the opportunities will be there, and you have to get them. That only happens when you have a young team. You got 2, 3 more experienced players. They start not liking to being on the bench and waiting for the opportunity. And when the opportunity arrives, it's not working. You got a rotten apple, and then start getting worse and worse. And I think that because they are young, because they are all willing to do whatever this manager is telling them to do, it's going to help a lot. Of course, results were there, so they are all backing up the result, backing up to the manager. But it was a lot easier to manage this dressing room instead of having 2, 3, 4 players who, with a little bit of ego, could have put this fantastic, successful year in danger.
There's an interesting little element here as well that's worth picking up on. We're talking about the young players and Hansi Flick's ability to get through to them. And you're talking about older players who've won it all, who can sometimes be problematic. Well, Barcelona have one very obvious example of that, and that's Robert Lewandowski. And, of course, Hansi Flick is the coach that got the best ever seasons out of Robert Lewandowski. Hansi Flick is the coach that says to Laporta, I can get the best out of him again. He can play well again. At a time when Xavi is saying to the club, I'm not sure about this guy. Maybe we move this guy on. So there's this kind of quite nice little contradiction there, which is you've got this manager that's partly succeeded because he's got so many young players eager to learn, eager to listen to him. But he's partly been brought in because he is telling you at board level, at presidential level, I can make this work with Robert Lewandowski. I can make sure that we don't need to move this guy on. I can make sure that it happens. And, of course, Lewandowski, not top scorer in La Liga because he's a couple behind Mbappe, but has had a brilliant goal-scoring season. There are still 1 or 2 doubts maybe about the press and some of the things that he does, but his relationship with Hansi Flick has been really good as well. So you've short-circuited, perhaps, the one player, you use the word rotten apple, the one player who potentially could have been that.
Sid, to one of my favourite subjects, do you think, in all honesty, it's helped Hansi Flick that he's only done interviews in English because that already puts the journalists on the back foot somewhat, so you're not getting into the details that we saw Xavi, of course, get caught in over the last 12 months of his tenure?
Yeah, I think the not speaking Spanish or Catalan part of it is quite interesting. I'm not 100% sure that I would see it in terms of him doing interviews in that language. I think I would take a step back a little bit and see it more in terms of him not being aware of what's been said around him, rather than not being aware of what's said to him, or maybe not able to put himself into trouble with the things that he said, just kind of not feeling that pressure that comes with being at this club and some of the noise. And Xavi, there's no doubt about it, was incredibly conscious of what was being said about him. I mean, entitled to be, by the way, and I can understand it on a human level. It seems to me to be completely normal. But Xavi didn't like that pressure at all. I'll give you a good example of this. It's a very, very famous moment after the Champions League game. I think it was against Napoli when they won. And he came into the press conference and he said, who's the buffoon of Europe now? Now, that was about a match report that had been written by a very well-respected Catalan journalist in one of the broadsheet newspapers, not a troublemaker by any means, but that headline had really upset Xavi. And it had partly upset Xavi because it had come from a part of the media that he assumed would be on his side, that he assumed would support him, that understands what Barcelona is, that is in theory in line with his beliefs and his sentiment and his feelings towards the club, and he felt kind of let down. And I suspect that if that had happened to Hansi Flick, he just wouldn't even have known, let alone cared. And if you don't know, of course, you can't care, even if under other circumstances you would do.
Yeah, but I think that even though if you understand, because I can tell you that all the managers receive a report with everything that is happening and if being said, is if it affects you.
Yes.
That's the big problem, because I think Hansi Flick, what he has done very well, and he has sent the message every single time that he's in a press conference, is the calmness. It's like, cool, we are all okay. We have injuries, there is no problem. It's sunny, it's okay. It's rainy, it's okay. We are not going to have these players, or we are not going to sign players. It's okay. Everything is okay as soon as we send the right message every single. That consistency and not being affected by whatever they say. When this Barcelona had that low, where they were losing, where they were lost against Las Palmas, lost against Leganés, and he kept sending the same message. Even so, everyone wants against this high line. You have to change it. You have to switch the situation. He never changed that, and I think that that experience of don't be affected by whatever he's saying around you, I think it has helped him a lot to arrive to this point where Barcelona is strong, mentally very, very strong, and playing at the same style as the first game of the season.
Remember as well, Luis, you're talking about that period when they lost games. They lost 3 games in a row at home. Remember when that was? It's just before Christmas.
Yep.
And it just came up to Christmas. What else happened at Christmas? What else happened at Christmas was they had the problem with Dani Olmo's registration. Now, you're talking about the only player that Hansi Flick had asked the club to sign. And he finds himself in a position where this player can't be registered, where this player is annoyed, where Christensen's injury is the only reason that he's played, but now there's a risk that he might not play. Now, I know Barcelona won that battle in the end. And actually, Barcelona, in terms of managing the legal side of it, did a brilliant job. You could argue about the financial side of it, but they did that part really well. But at that point, Hansi Flick is thinking, the player I really wanted, the player that I thought would make a difference, the player that we got rid of Gundogan so that we could play him, can't play. And at that point, it would have been really, really easy, even if it was just a small comment, to have said something.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
I want to talk about another player, Ali. And what's interesting, I think, from an outside, Mullion under 11s, as much as I starred for that team.
Okay.
I think that there is a player on this side that you have to have played the game at a high level to really appreciate.
Okay.
And I think that's Pedri. Because I think he does something that every ex-pro that I speak to gets so emotional, gets so excited about talking to him, that maybe fans don't see as much of. Can you kind of fill in the gaps there?
The reason that the fans may not understand how critical to the success of Barcelona Pedri is because he makes it look so simple, so easy. So what he's doing seems like it's normal,
right?
That I'm able to get this touch away from this pressure, and I already know where the next pass is going to go. He makes it look easy. The difference is that it's not easy. It's not. It's not. To have a full picture, to understand where everybody is and should be on the field, to have that vision, you think about head on a swivel, and it's something that people would understand. He's able to have a full picture of what's in front of him, what's around him to the side, what's behind him. And that's why, when you talk about Pedri, one of the things that is most obvious to see for me is the spatial awareness. And knowing that my first touch is going to dictate where the next movement is going to go. And I already know, if I'm Pedri, I already know where I'm going. Even before these defenders are stepping to me, even as they start to sort of trying to crowd me out, I already know where my touch is going to go. I'm one step ahead of you. And he does that every single time he receives the ball. He seems to be just gliding on the field. He seems to be just playing at a slow jog. And yet, he gets away from people. And yet, he finds the next pass. The reason that people take it for granted is because it happens every game, every play of every game. And so if every touch seems to be the same by him and it's made to look so simple and so easy, then people just say, well,
right,
everybody can do it. Not everybody can do it. That's what makes Pedri special.
Luis?
I'm going to give you an example that I think that you're going to understand very easily, Dan. You remember when we were at the Wanda Metropolitana and we were watching the game, and Sid Lowe has got his iPad where he's watching the game also, but he's 1 minute ahead, behind what we were watching. That's what Pedri is all about. While everybody is watching at Sid Lowe iPad, Pedri is playing the real game. He's go ahead of everything. He knows everything that is going to happen. the space time for him is just easy. He's at the right moment in the right space. What is needed in defense is going to be in defense. What is needed to slow down the game is going to slow it down. What is needed to speed it up is going to speed it up. If no one is making runs like it happened today in the first 45, he's the one that from the middle of the park is making the runs to create the space for Lewandowski, for Dani Olmo, for them to get the balls in those places. So that's Pedri all about. He doesn't lose the balls, he regains the balls, he assists, he can score, so he can do everything from the middle of the park. And now we can see a different Pedri with that consistency that he's been doing the whole season. No injuries for him, he can run all during the game, arriving to even 13 kilometers. That is wide miles away from everyone else, and is keeping the ball when it's more needed. Today, in the last part, and Sid just mentioned it, we remember all Inter de Milan the last 5-7 minutes. Today, he decided, together with Frankie de Jong, we're going to grab the ball and we are not going to lose it. We are going to just juggle around, playing around, trying to slow down the game because Espanyol is coming to get us and try to get the equalizer. Pedri has been the best midfielder in Europe, the best midfielder in the world, and I would love to see him very soon fighting for the Ballon d'Or.
One last thing I would say about Pedri, because my love for Pedri is deep. Deep, and I mean deep.
And there isn't much love for many.
There's not a lot of love to go around.
we continue the theme of today.
Not a lot of love to go around. And this is really for young players out there. How many times do you see Pedri doing a step over? How many times do you see him do some sort of fancy back heel or flick on or something that would be a highlight for most people? And yet, a lot of the time, he's still the best player on the field. If you know what you are as a player and you know what you do well and you're able to take that skill set to an elite level, you separate yourself from the rest. His reading of the game, his understanding of the game, and knowing where he needs to go with that first touch separates him from the rest without the need of a step over, without the need of, look at me, without the need of, look at what I'm doing here, look how fancy in there. No, there is efficiency and effectiveness to what he does with every move.
Away from Ali's real children questioning their father's love.
Yes.
Let's get some more reaction then, shall we? As we hear from Eric Garcia, who spoke to Gemma Soler.
Yes, with Eric Garcia, thanks for talking to ESPN. What a match, what a season. Congratulations, you are La Liga winners.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a tough game today. But yeah, of course, we're really happy. I think we've done an amazing season. And at the end, we get the results. We are really happy. We've got a really good squad, and I think we've showed it through the whole season.
I don't know, you looked very uncomfortable in the first half. There was this incident, the game was stopped for a couple of minutes. What happened in that first half?
Well, I think we were a bit sloppy in possession, turning the ball over a lot. I think the best thing was the result, because we could have been down at the break. But then in the second half, we started to play better, and of course, an amazing goal from Lamine. And then being able to suffer, because of course they also play for being staying in the first league. So I think we've done it well, and of course then with the goal of Fermin was better.
You just mentioned that Lamine goal. We always ask you about Lamine, but what a perfect shot! He always surprises you, this kid.
Yeah, I mean, he trains it. He trains this type of shots. He's got it really well because Juan is a great keeper. So yeah, he's an amazing player. Sometimes you think he's not in the game because he's not touching the ball, but then suddenly he comes up and then he does these things which are amazing.
You are one of these academy players. I guess it's special somehow to win it on a Catalan derby, playing not like yesterday. So it feels special to win a Liga like this.
Yeah. Of course, I think when you're young, when you're La Masia, the most important game of the season is when you play against Espanyol. That's what you've been taught, and of course for the players that we've grown up here, it's really special. Yeah.
So Eric, you came back from a loan. There were not that much expectations about this team at the beginning of the season, but you managed to get the domestic treble. What have you done? What did Hansi Flick do with this team?
I think trusting each other. We've done an amazing season, without having a lot of expectations. And then, personally, I think we could have been in the Champions League final, but that's something for the next season for sure.
And that's the double, of course. 9 times Barcelona have done it. I'm glad to say the last time they did it was now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, graphics department.
Thank you
That's
all.
much
I was wondering.
Oh, what was the last?
I think, yeah, 24, 25.
Luis and Sid with us.
They didn't find it nearly as funny as we did.
Well. Luis, final thought before we let you go?
Nothing done, just waiting for tomorrow's celebration. It wasn't the best game, to be honest, today of Barcelona or Espanyol, but in the end, it was worth it, just the trophy. So we'll have to wait and see what this Barcelona is going to be next year. Definitely this year has been fantastic, a double that really, after what we've seen, it's been fantastic football, fantastic result, and Hansi Flick on the wheel to this amazing team. So let's wait and see what happens next season, but definitely this season has been worth it to watch all the games of Barcelona.
What a gentleman, Luis. If I was Luis, I'd say 3 words for you. I was right. Sid?
You know what? I mean, let's pick up from something that Luis was saying. I think, you know, the extraordinary achievement of this Barcelona team, a team that was this close to reaching a Champions League final, really should have done. And I think the fact that they didn't, and it was illustrated there in Gemma's interview with Enriques Garcia, that still hurts them. And Lamine Yamal said the other day, he said, I told my mum we'll get a chance every year. We'll keep getting more chances, so we'll go back and we'll try again. But you know what? More than all of that, the thing that really sticks with me is, my word, it's been a lot of fun. What a great team they've been to watch. What a great team they've been with the ball. How incredibly successful they've been. But what a joy to watch them play, to watch them take risks, to watch them go at people, to watch them have comebacks. And not comebacks because they've been lucky in the last minute with a deflected goal, but comebacks where they've sort of allowed themselves to be 2-0 down and thought, you know what, now we're going to absolutely destroy you. You watched that Clásico last weekend. They were 2-0 down. And even at 2-0 down, I thought they were the better team on the pitch. And the way they turned it around to make it 4-2 before half-time, you could be forgiven for thinking that they'd done it deliberately. Have a couple of goals. It's more fun that way and we'll go for you. And that, for me, is the lasting feeling of this season, is just how enjoyable it's been.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm sure Real Madrid fans have enjoyed that opening 40 minutes.
Absolutely. Very much so.